Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers back to the Books by Adrian author platform. This is Typewriters Podcast. This is the after show where we spend a little more time with this week's guest from Livestream Sunday, and we talk more about craft and how we write and how we publish and more of that kind of stuff. So if you enjoyed Livestream Sunday this week with Melinda Kucsera, you're going to get some more of her in just a minute. And if you have not seen it yet, click the link in the description down below and go check out that episode because she's a font of knowledge. And that was a great time with her. We got a lot of information and we're going to get some more. So like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. You know what to do. I'm just going to have it on the screen anyway, just so you have no excuses. It's right there. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a 5-star review and write whatever you want about us in the review. I don't care what you write as long as it's a 5-star, because it's gonna give us a little bump. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get her back out here. The prolific Melinda Kucsera. Welcome back.
Hi, it's good to be back.
It was a very short hiatus away, but you are back. For everybody else, it's been like 5 days. For us, it's been 5 minutes. Time travel. So on this one, we tend to get a little more into the nitty gritty, as it were. And before we wrapped up Livestream Sunday, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Before we wrapped up Livestream Sunday, we were talking a little bit about publishing on a budget, so to speak. And I myself, like you, putting out a novel with 166,000 words. And like you, when I looked up the quotes and saw what professional editors are charging, I was like, eh. But luckily, I have a sister who is a phenomenal writer, a much better writer than I am. And she's been, her poetry has been published a couple times, and she wrote a screenplay that she's been shopping around and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, sis, can you do this for much cheaper? And so she's been editing my novel. And when she's done with it, she's almost done with it, and then I'll be done with a solid second draft after that. And that's going to go to critique partners. I have made some friends up here on AuthorTube, and some very, very good writers whose work I enjoy and whose knowledge and feedback I respect. They'll be tackling a little critiquing of my novel, and I'll get another draft out of that. And then we're going to go through the beta readers stuff. So all of that to say that there is absolutely ways to do it on a budget, as it were. So is that kind of how you went about it? Was it critique partners and beta readers? Did you never go for the professional editor? What did you end up doing for your first one?
I didn't have critique partners. I didn't have a sibling who writes. I had nothing. So what I ended up doing was rereading it as many times as I could. I got an app for my phone called App Voice that reads it back to you, and that was really helpful because your eyes will autocorrect if you type the wrong thing, but the AI is not that nice. If you type
gonna say it the wrong way,
it will say both of them, and you're like, "What the hell?" And I had that this morning. It was reading back to me. I wasn't editing for grammar at that point because I'm still writing the book. I was more actually like this. What I just couldn't remember some of the earlier stuff in the book because it had been a while since I worked on it. And it's reading it back, and I'm like, wait, whoa, what is that? And I started fixing the grammar, and I'm like, and I was gonna stop myself, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna stop myself because it's better if I fix the grammar. Each time I'm listening to it, even though I'm listening to it for the plot, if I hear something grammatically wrong, it's better that I fix it now. Sure. Because then each time I'm listening to it, it's a cleaner and cleaner draft. And then by the end of that, like my recent book, Chris Baker Revealed, that just came out on September 27th, I did have it professionally edited, and she made about 25 edits. And the book was 120 something thousand words. So, and that's because I work full time and I forget parts of the story. So I have that app read it to me, and I'll listen to it for like 2 hours while I go for a walk, and I'll just, anything I hear, I'm like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Wait, that's not, I don't like the pacing of that, or I don't like that sentence, and I will just fix it, even though I'm listening to it for the plot while I was writing it. And by the end of that, you end up with a pretty clean draft.
Yeah.
The only thing that the AI can't do is those words that, if the word looks right, if there's words that like that are pronounced the same but are spelled differently. I forgot what those are called, but that sort of thing it can't pick up.
Yeah.
Like if you had TO and you needed TOO, you
Right.
can't catch that with the AI, or you had the wrong there because you used the what do we call it, the narrate button on your phone, and you said, hey, they went there, and it picked the wrong one or whatever. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it happens.
You know, I'm gonna add this to my arsenal. It's a really good idea because one of the things that I do is part of my routine is when I sit down to write something new, I just write the new thing, whether it's a chapter or whatever it is. I use the whole writing session to do that, and then the next day when I sit down to write again, I edit what I wrote the day before first. And then I write something new again. I can't move on to something new until I've edited yesterday's work. And I do that for two reasons. Number one, like you, I like the document getting cleaner and cleaner every time. So every time I go back through and do another pass, I'm going to catch all those things. Even though I'm not in the proofreading stage yet or anything like that, I'm going to fix the grammar problems that I find because I found them. So I
Yep.
should fix them. And then the other thing I do when I'm actually editing, rather than writing, but just full on, I'm editing the novel. I'll change the font on the document so it looks completely new to my eyes,
Mhm.
and I'll read it out loud. And reading it out loud is where you catch those mistakes. But in between, I'm going to add the app there because that's really good to have something else, some foreign voice reading it to you. You're going to catch a lot more stuff that you didn't catch before, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
especially since the voices that apps that read documents to you are it's more robotic, so you're going to hear every little mistake, and that's
Yeah.
good. You want that.
Yeah. Yeah, I say on here all the time. My viewers are probably sick and tired of hearing it, but unlike other authors, I know so many that will send out their manuscript or whatever they've written to an editor and immediately start panicking because they're afraid of it coming back covered in red. And I'm like, why? I want to get it back covered in red. I
That's
want
you want to get your money's worth.
absolutely, and to get every opportunity to make it better. All those red marks are just a chance to make your book better. Why would you be afraid of that? Like, make it better. It's going to be great.
But you do want to send out the best
The
version
cleanest
you can,
absolutely.
because you want them to find the things that you can't find. You
Mhm.
don't want them to be finding things that you could have found, because then while they're finding those things, they may miss stuff that you
Yes.
can't find. So you
Yes.
do want to send the absolutely cleanest draft possible, and I do that now that I am paying for editing.
That's
I do
fantastic.
send the cleanest draft possible.
That's really good advice. Yes, the cleanest draft possible. Absolutely. Yeah, I have in my list of critique partners, one of them is the lovely Bethany Vota, who is a phenomenal writer, and I've sent her short things to critique in the past. Flash fiction, short stories, whatever. And while I'm looking for pacing and plotting and character and dialogue kind of feedback from her, she can't stop herself from sending back all of the little like grammar fixes and stuff like that. And you missed a comma here, and this word is misspelled, and blah blah blah. And I always tell her, like, I'm gonna get to that stuff later. Like, you don't have to, like, she's like, I can't, I see it, I have to fix it. And so, knowing that about her, she's going to be the last one to to critique my book. She's going to get the cleanest version I could possibly get to her, and she's going to catch all those little things for me. She's going to be my proofreader. I'll throw her a couple bucks for it because I know it's a big book. But holy crap, like, just having a nice team like that is essential, I think, to doing it on a little. But yeah, absolutely.
For many of us, it's a dream. We don't have a team. We can
find
afford one editor. We have the one editor. If we can't, then we find beta readers.
But that's the beauty of these online author communities, whether it's on TikTok or here on YouTube. Like,
I've had much luck with that.
Really, I can't stop finding people. I keep finding people. I'm gonna send you some names.
I don't have people like offering to, like, I don't have time to. A lot of it is you have to have time to be able to do it for them, and I
Exactly.
don't have
It is
the time.
that is
so it's
true.
like I could only I have one beta reader, and she's not an author. She does not. She just wants
That's
to
a
read
beta
the books
reader. Right.
before they go out, and she'll tell me if I missed something or if she doesn't understand something. I don't get a lot of it of feedback, and that's fine. Like, it's what I get is very valuable, and I'm just grateful to have that little bit.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, beta readers are very different from critique partners. I always try to specify with people, because a beta reader is not going to, give you feedback as another author. They're going to give you feedback as a reader, and it's a very different experience whether you're an author reading a thing or a reader reading a thing.
I
So yeah,
prefer the
absolutely.
reader feedback than the author feedback, because authors can get wrapped up in things that readers just don't care about. So you have to be careful with that. There's a fine line with the critique, where they'll be critiquing things that readers just don't care about. And you could miss, because I've heard stories of people who've gone through these critiques with other authors, and they've changed things, and it got out into the wild. So their critique partners were happy, and readers hated the book because they
Mm,
completely missed the mark on certain tropes and things. What they really needed was reader feedback to know, did I hit your expectations? Because like, that is way more important than making
hmm.
another author happy. There are some authors out there, some of them, there's some trad authors, and you'll hear these complaints that if you read their writing, it's very basic, but they're hitting what readers want, so they sell a lot of books. And at the end
Yeah.
of the day, that's what it's all about, what the reader wants. And if what the reader wants is something that would make your critique partners like turn purple and run out of the room screaming, then you need to make sure that they turn purple and run out of the room screaming, because
Hmm.
that's what readers want, and they're the ones who are buying the books. So always keep that in mind with the critique partners.
The lesson there, I think, is that whatever feedback you get from your critique partners, it is still up to you as the author whether or not you're going to take their advice and
Yep.
make those changes. And it is just as important to have the critique partners as the beta readers, because, as you say, the readers are the ones that are ultimately going to be buying the
I
books.
I don't
Like
know that you need. I've never had a critique partner, so
I need it.
I am proof
I
that you
need
maybe
it.
don't need that.
I
I
need
I
it. Because I need it because, number one, I'm a new writer, in a lot of ways. Like, this is
So
my
you're using
first.
that in place of developmental editing.
Absolutely, I can't necessarily afford to hire two different editors to do four different, edits of my book or whatever it is. So instead, I rely on other authors who have put out books that I have read and gone, oh, this is a really good writer. I enjoy what they're doing. Maybe even they share some similarities with me, whatever it
They
might be.
should. If they're
Yeah,
critiquing
absolutely.
it, they should be writing the
Yeah,
same genre, the same
genre. Yeah,
tropes. So
yeah.
this way you know that I understand that.
Yeah. And with a book like mine, which is kind of genre bendy, it's a murder mystery, but it's set in a sci fi fantasy world. There's, of course, a romantic subplot in there. So I'm going to have
Oh, you've
like
got
a
the
good
kitchen
four.
sink.
Yeah, I
That's gonna
know.
be hard to sell.
I know.
Genre bending stories are hard to sell. You might, if if there's more of one than the other, then make that your focus and
The
make
main plot is the murder mystery. It's mostly going to be
so it's a murder
marketed
mystery
that
in
way. Yeah.
space.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. It's a murder mystery in
That's
space.
still gonna be a bit of a hard sell,
I'll
because
figure it out.
yeah, murder mysteries. That's, is it cozy? Because there is sort of a crossover in like cozy. There is kind of a cozy sci-fi kind of a thing,
What do you
but
mean by
that's
cozy sci fi? I'm intrigued.
so like. Have you ever read a cozy mystery? So it's basically a cozy mystery set in space.
Cozy as in, like, I'm clashing up against the word cozy. Is it because, like, you just kind of like
No, like
sit
a
in a
cozy
corner with the
mystery
book?
is all those books like the bakery caper, where the
Mm,
amateur sleuth, or there's usually in cozy mystery there's usually some kind of shtick. It's
yeah,
a bakery, it's a tea shop, it's a food thing, it's a knitting shop. Like, if there's some
gotcha.
kind of thing that the main character is doing that is their business, their life, and on the side they get involved in these murder mysteries, but
Right.
it's still a cozy, like, there's still like some romance.
Yeah, it's
There's
fun.
the
It sounds
like
like,
small
yeah.
town, and there's characters who come in and out and they interact with, and they build it's a lot about friendships, and a lot there's the it tends to be a lot of stuff about friendships.
You
There's some
know,
really good ones out there's a lot of really, really good ones out there. They're a lot of fun to read. I definitely wouldn't market your book as a cozy sci-fi unless you've read cozy books and made sure, because there's certain things that the cozy word is synonymous with, that if you don't have you'll get in big trouble.
Yeah, I don't think that mine would qualify as a cozy one. Like, the main character is a detective. It's a detective mystery. There's a serial killer kind of deal going on with the mystery. So yeah, I don't know that I would call it a cozy one. That being said,
Did
there is a lot of like relationshipy stuff in it. Not
Okay.
necessarily like romance necessarily, but there's it's an ensemble cast. Even though I have
Yeah.
a main character, there's an ensemble cast. They all have their own point of view chapters, and they kind of all weave in to each other's stories. So there's definitely that kind
Is
of
it
like intermingling kind of thing,
Yeah, is it set in like a spaceship or a space
a
station?
space station kind of deal.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
because then you kind of need that interplay of dynamics because a space station it's a closed environment. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's gonna be cool. It's as far as the marketing this thing, that's a
That's
challenge
going
that
to
we're
be
gonna get to.
tricky because
Yeah,
science fiction breaks down to there's the hard science fiction and they want lots of science in their sci-fi.
yeah,
Then there's the space opera where they want like Star Wars-esque, that kind of thing. We all know what space opera is. And then there's other parts of sci-fi. There's more like sociological sort of stories. And there's like near Earth, near. There's the near future, and then there's the far future. There's
hmm,
all different little niches, and like, so if you're, I think you could do well if you can manage to hit like one of these things. Like if you're gonna do, actually, like for a murder mystery, it should probably be hard sci-fi because what's his name? I can't think of him. I read the book too, and I can't think of his name. Something Reynolds. He's done some murder mysteries and sort of, but he writes very hard sci-fi,
mm.
like very physics filled. I love it.
Hey, if it
um,
works, it works. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I consider myself a little lucky. I don't have to worry about this by myself. I do have a producer and a marketer, um, who are working with me. They're actually like investing in the thing. You know what I mean? So it's whole. I mean, I've known these dudes my entire life. They're basically
what's
my brothers.
what's a
Uh,
producer for a book? Like I don't. What's
well, I have
what
a
role?
I call him my producer
Oh,
because it's more than just the book necessarily. He helps like all the like this mic, for example, he got for me. Like, so yeah, he the his brother works for one of the big three marketing companies in the country. He told me not to say which one, so I can't.
okay.
But he's one of these dudes that makes like seven figures a year marketing stuff. So like he
I
and
should
his
be
brother,
asking you for marketing advice.
maybe not me, maybe him. Like, and I had him actually on live stream Sunday. I brought him on, and he was on here like maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. He was on a couple seasons ago, and we did an entire episode where he just shared some marketing knowledge with us all. So definitely feel free to watch that if you want some pointers. But I'm gonna
Always.
defer to his expertise when it comes to this because as a first time writer, so many authors have given me advice, and I have very maybe foolhardily ignored a lot of it. Because
Yeah.
you know
Marketing books is very different from marketing anything else
oh
because
sure, yeah,
my
very
day
specific.
job is I work for a large company and marketing I work very closely with their marketing department and it's very what we do. We also have very small margins, which makes it be careful how much you spend and how
Oh
much
yeah,
you're hoping to get to make back
yeah.
because you're the entry, most first in series books are free, so you're not making anything back on that.
Mine will not be. Mine will probably be full price because it's going to be a big. We need to make our money back. Yeah, these guys are literally investing in the
Yeah,
publication of
and
this book.
there's also a contraction in the market with everything going on and the inflation, so the
Yeah,
prices that the market will bear is maybe not the same now as it was then, especially if you're going to be in on Amazon. Like there's not as much elasticity in prices on there for
there's
certain genres. Like getting above 3.99 is sort of hard.
definitely a lot of factors to it. Absolutely,
Yeah.
we have obviously we haven't set in stone any kind of
Hmm.
final plan yet because
You can't.
I'm still editing the book. Yeah,
Hmm.
we can't yet, but we have had a few meetings about options. And on one hand, we could put it out entirely ourselves and not even do the Amazon thing. Like, there's so many other ways that we could go about it.
There are.
We even toyed with the idea of putting the digital version out as an app, like not even like sell the digital version through Amazon, just like it's an app that you can download on your phone, and now you have my book on your phone. Like, there's so many different ways that we can go about
There
doing it.
are. I would
Yeah,
look into. I would not limit yourself with KU, and I would look at all of them because, especially in with the way things are changing, the more places you can be, the more ways that somebody can interact with your story, and the better.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, aside from marketing the things, the process of writing the book can be a very lonely one,
Mhm.
especially if you're not you know talking to your characters as much as it sounds like you do. It sounds like you have a lot more fun with your characters than with me. It's always more like, what is this guy going to do next? I don't really like I don't
This,
often let them
yeah.
dictate what happens, so to speak. So how does that like affect your like timeline? Do you set like actual like goals for dates to finish it, or do you just kind of let it happen? What's that like in writing these stories for you?
I I set dates, and sometimes we make them, sometimes we don't.
Sometimes that due date just flies right
Well,
past.
yeah, because sometimes, like right now, they're doing something that would break the lore, and I have to figure out, like, is there certain circumstances where it wouldn't actually break the lore?
Mm,
How set in stone are the rules? Like, these rules are like in in the first book, and I write everything about the same world in the same country. So,
mm.
and these have been established,
Especially it
and
being fantasy, right? Like,
mhm,
fantasy readers are very, very, hardcore about like the rules of the magic system, the rules of the world, and it like all like making sense in the end. Yeah, absolutely. Got to think
yeah,
about that.
yeah.
Yeah. So that can kind of like elongate your plans, it sounds like.
Yeah, yeah. But at the same time, like once I find a solution for whatever problem they've thrown at me, like I could finish it pretty quickly. Like depending on where the problem came up. Like in the previous book that I was writing, a problem came up in the last third, and I was like, "Oh, how are we going to do this?" And it took me a few weeks to figure it out. But once I did, like I wrote the end of it pretty quickly because I had already I wrote around it as much as possible, and when I finally figured out how to deal with this, I I didn't have much left to write. I had written most of it, so
That's awesome. I like the idea of
just chip away at it, you know?
yeah, of chipping away at it. That's exactly what I was going to say, because it sounds like, with you like listening to the app, reading it back to you, and being able to edit it, for lack of a better term, while you're doing it. Yeah, it just sounds like you can write the whole book without even feeling like you sat down to write. That sounds fun.
I mean, sometimes like I'll be like, "Wait a minute." Oh, I've had this happen a few times where I actually finished writing the book and didn't realize it and wrote like the first act of the next book, and because I was because of that process. Because when
Yeah,
the AI is reading it back to me, it's not reading the
you
entire
just
thing
kept
to me.
yeah
It's
you just
going
keep it
back to
going.
whatever plot point I've decided is like that's from here to here is what I'm working on. And if as the book gets nearer and near to the end, like that moves, it shifts further and further back in the book, and I might only be listening to like the last 10 chapters, and then going forward, if the book only needed like 3 or 4 chapters and it was done, I might not. It's happened so many times that like characters joke about it in the newsletter.
I might steal this idea of having characters write my newsletters, because that just sounds like fun.
It is so much fun. I've been doing it since 2017, and readers love it.
That
They can
sounds
email
really fun.
them. They can email the characters. They write back.
That's fun, and especially like wanting to build hype for the book coming out. The newsletter subscribers that I already have, they haven't read any of that stuff yet. They haven't read the book yet, so it might be kind of interesting to like send them an email written by the villain or by the main character or whatever it is. That sounds fun.
It is. It's a lot of fun, and I mean, it worked for me because I had no life. I worked and I wrote, and that was it. I had a really long commute for work, so there wasn't time to do anything else. So I was like, what am I going to put in this newsletter? I can't have pets where I live. I don't have kids. Like, what else am I going to talk about?
Makes sense. Makes sense. I like it. Melinda,
Yes.
I asked you this in the previous show. I'll ask you again. Was there anything else that we wanted to cover on today's shows that we haven't gotten to yet? I feel like we've powered through so much already.
Oh.
So, sorry, my kids are just walking through.
Oh. See, you've got kids you can talk about. I don't have that.
They don't want to know about my kids. They subscribe to an author newsletter. They want to know about the books. They don't care about my kids.
Oh, they might. I don't know. I was
Maybe.
just gonna say that my latest book, Chris Baker Revealed, the 9th book in the series, if we don't count the prequels and the side quests and other things, came out on September 27th, and
Nice.
it was a really fun book to write. They did get into a lot of trouble that I had to find creative solutions for.
Was this the one that took you like a year to find the solution for? That was a different one. Okay, that was a
the
different
book
one.
that took me a year was this one, actually. Curse Breaker Hidden.
Right on.
And this is probably 130,000 words. But yeah, they got into a situation where there was no surviving it. And thankfully I had something that I had put in. It was just sort of a throwaway thing that I put in Curse Breaker Darkens, the second book. And as I was rereading it, I was like, oh, okay. So I had the solution here all along. And the problem that comes up in the third book is they find this crystal that it eats magic. It just, like
That's
a
a
black
problem.
hole, it just sucks in more and more and more. And my mage, Sauron, can't survive without magic. So we had sort of a problem. We need to get rid of this crystal, but there's also a monster roaming around, and
As they do.
yeah. And then he got into a altercation with this Dark Lord, and the Dark Lord wanted his magic, and he didn't really want his magic, and it came down to he accidentally gave it up. So now he has no magic, which he can't survive with. He still had it, but it was blocked, and there's this crystal that's eating magic. There's these monsters that are roaming around, and he can't do anything except, and he's got his son is with him this entire time, so he's trying to protect the little boy. And now suddenly he's like, wait a minute, I actually need the magic back. How do I get it back? And if you don't have the ability to shield and there's things falling, you end up with a concussion. Things got really bad. And I'm like, how the heck am I going to save them? And I need to do it in a way that doesn't break the lore. And then I found in Curse Breaker Darkens, the second book, that I had this little organism that makes magic, and it lives in the water, and there's a heck of a lot of water under there, and it was already under the mountain in the area where they were. And I was like, oh, here we go, we've got the answer. There's this thing that makes magic. So you'll have to read the book to see how that all plays out, but I did find a way to save everybody.
The brilliant thing about that is that the reader has no idea that you clashed into this particular problem. To them, it seems like, oh, she planted the solution back in book 2.
That's what my
she
beta
knew what she was doing all along.
My beta reader said. She's like, that part, the Andrea, she's like, that is so cool. And I was like, thanks. It saved their lives.
Yeah, thank God that was there. It's funny, that's the quote from Neil Gaiman.
Save you.
Oh yeah, that's the quote from Neil Gaiman, right? Terry Pratchett says that the process of writing the first draft is the process of you telling yourself the story, and then Neil Gaiman finishes the thought with the process of writing your second draft is the process of making it look like you knew what you were doing all along.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I'm getting from this. Is it just looks like you just knew what you were doing the whole time. They don't need to know how hard it was for you to figure it out.
They have no idea that I got halfway through the book and I was like, I have no way to save him.
That's
how do I get his magic back? How do I keep this thing from killing him? Yeah.
That's awesome. Ms. Kucsera, this has been fantastic. This is a good half-hour podcast, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But thank you so very much for joining me. Thank you for all of your knowledge and experience and your great advice. And I can't wait to talk to you again, and maybe next year with 7 more books under your belt.
Sure, I'd love to come back. This was fun.
This was a blast. This was fantastic. Thank you so very much. This goes up on Thursday, so be sure to let your people know that they can can catch it on that day, and it's all over the place. It'll be here on
Okay, you'll
YouTube.
send
It'll
links so I
Oh
have
yeah, I'll
links to
send you
share.
everything you need.
Cool.
Absolutely, of course. This will probably get uploaded tomorrow nightish, so you should have everything by Tuesday.
Cool.
All right. Well, for everybody at home, thank you so much for joining us and for listening, and for downloading, and for following the instructions on the screen that tells you to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please just, do as you're told. And for everybody else, come back next time. This is Thursday podcast. We'll come back on Sunday for Jack Atkins. I can't wait to talk to him, and he comes very highly recommended by Melinda Kucsera as well. So it's going to be a fun time. And he writes books about dragons. So
He does.
join me. If you like anything like this, or like this, Lord of the Rings, Song of Ice and Fire, there's dragons everywhere. We all love dragons. Let's do it.
I write about them too.
I don't have. I actually do have a dragon in my first one, so there is a dragon in my book as well. He's a little guy, but yeah, little teaser. All right, y'all. Until next time, Right on Writers. We out.